Welcome to TC and the Wolf, a brand new podcast featuring the Reverend Tom Chandler, a talented but slightly disgruntled music producer, and Nick Wolf, a singer, songwriter, and technology wizard. Important note, everything we say here is a joke and only for entertainment purposes. Do not take this seriously. The opinions expressed do not represent the views of anyone else or any companies we may be affiliated with. Make sure to subscribe, like, follow, and share. And as always, drink responsibly and make sure to tip your waiters.
Hello, family and friends, and everyone else out there listening in LA and elsewhere. This is TC and the Wolf. I am Reverend Tom Chandler. To my far right is the one and only Mr. Nick Wolf. Say hello.
What's up?
And today, episode 10. This is when we become a real boy, real podcast. That's what they said. Nobody gets, if you get past 10, you'll have something good happen. So we'll see. We have a very special guest today. This is our friend, famous LA musician, Erik Kluiber.
Hey, thanks, Tom.
Yeah.
Welcome.
He's the best.
Thanks, Nick. Good to see you.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming out, man. We're very excited to do this because you are a very serious, legitimate fucking musician, bro.
I guess so. I've been here for a while, and I love music and been trying to make bands work forever.
As we have, too. So we all have the same disease.
to different levels of success. Yes, it's ridiculous. I wanted to know this, Erik. Where did you start out? Where'd you grow up? What was the early scene for you? Because I've known you for probably about, 15 years now or something like that?
Yeah, 15 years.
Woo!
So I got here around 2009, and before that I was in the Detroit area, and that's where I went to high school, and I would consider that my home base.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I see you travel out there quite a bit.
I go back to the Midwest, yeah, and I still have friends in Detroit, and sometimes those bands play.
Okay, well, what was your first band called back in the day that you got into?
My first real band was called The End, and that was a high school band. And that was the first band that played shows. Before that, it was just getting together with a drummer.
What was the style? Was this metal?
It was metal, yeah. And so that would be the early 90s, so like 91.
Oh, wow. Mm-hmm. Okay. So you were just out of high school, 91?
I was still in high school, so that would be like my sophomore year. And we played our first show my junior year. And that was, at the time, just getting a show was like the first step, like getting to actually play live.
I remember just getting on stage back in those days was challenging, dude. Like I was like 17, sneaking into bars, and they had me load in the back door with my Marshall. It was nuts back then. The 90s was a crazy time.
Yeah, it was an amazing time. It was hard to get into bars. I mean, you're not supposed to get in there until you're at least 18, which really you shouldn't be. Nowadays, it's like 21, but you could get away with breaking the law back then, and like these really shitty fake IDs would work for things.
Mm-hmm. Oh, we made some shitty ones, bro. Oh, my cousin had, I was 2 years older than him. He wanted to start going to bars with me when I was 21. He was 19. And so he literally took and cut his face off of his ID and put it over my ID, and with an iron the picture,
melted the plastic.
It fused the plastic, and there was burn marks on it and shit, and it worked fucking everywhere.
Yeah. I mean, it's such a joke. I mean, you could always like look right through them, and then somehow these type of low tech kid type stuff would work to get into clubs and whatnot.
Yeah, no, I even had a friend, Jody. She was our singer when I was in college, but she was really young. She was like 19. She went and took my buddy's wife's Social Security card and bills. Yeah. It went in and got her own ID made as Amy, not as Jody.
It was really bad. I mean, you could definitely take advantage of the system. Like someone would have a field day now.
Oh, yeah. No, I can't imagine. Like these days, I don't even think you can do it anymore. I don't think you can have a fake ID. I don't think it would work.
You can for sure. I mean, obviously, just if you... But it's taken a lot more seriously.
Yeah.
And so it was a different world where somehow like a 16-year-old kid, like think of how young that looks. That's a child, right? How that could ever be pulled off as an adult in any situation.
Dude, when I was 16, I looked 12.
Yeah.
I mean,
they're
like, wear a golf shirt, motherfucker, because you need to look like you belong here, you know? It was terrible. Anyway, let's, talk to me about the journey out here. What made you decide to come to LA? What year was that? What bands happened kind of prior to that?
Sorry, can I go back even further?
Okay, go back.
When did you start playing the guitar?
So that was the age 13, and that would have been 1988.
Wow.
And at the time, I did live in Tustin, California. That was really cool. I only got to live there a year and a half.
Oh, wow. So
Yeah.
you started playing in California?
I did.
Then
and
went
that's
to Detroit?
coincidence, but and I moved back to the Detroit area very, soon, like probably 89. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
What was your first guitar?
It was my dad's acoustic guitar, and he'd had that sitting in a closet. And as a little kid, I had played with it because I was always intrigued, but didn't know what to do with it. And I think I actually dropped it and fucked it up, and it still has a break in it. But it was a Gibson that, like back then, it wasn't a big deal. Like these, when you went to Sears or something, you'd get like a nice guitar.
Yeah, no, back in the day, you used to be able to like catalog order nice guitars from Sears and shit. It was...
So it was a really traditional story of like my dad's guitar and starting on an acoustic.
You know, not to make the story about me, but I found an acoustic guitar in a closet too.
Yeah.
And I initially just was banging on like, what is this? How do you do this? You know, and then I put it away for a while, but similar thing, just stumbling on it and falling in love.
So that's kind of a fate thing where, I do think it was meant to be, and it was always calling to me, and MTV was happening, and the coolest instrument is guitar.
And it was back then. That's what's wild to think about, that was like being like a DJ today or something. Do you know what I mean? It was like, this is the premier thing you can use is the electric guitar, and to have that crazy tone that you heard on a White Snake record or whatever.
Yeah.
That was insane. You were just like, I'm the king if I'm playing guitar. And people responded to it, which I don't think they really do that now. You know what I mean? Where it's like, people were excited about people that were musicians that wrote and played songs on guitar.
Yeah, culturally it was. I will nowadays, I think if you play a guitar in front of normal people and you can actually play something, I think it always captures their attention, though.
Yeah, that's still true.
Like it kind of wakes something up. Back in the day, it was exciting though. Like everyone was in on it. Like, oh my God, you play guitar, and they were really excited. And now you kind of catch them by surprise, and they're like almost surprised that they like it.
Well, it's also because, obviously I don't need to tell you guys, the culture has changed so much. Rock music used to be the mainstream at some point, and now it's sort of like a subculture.
Yeah, I think it's becoming more, metal and rock is becoming more like jazz, where it will always...
Where people play bad notes?
No, where it will exist always, and it will be its own separate art form that the people that are involved with that art form, it's just like classical music. We're never getting rid of classical music, right? Because there'll always be an orchestra, there'll always be the LA Phil, there'll always be stuff like that. That's why I feel like rock music's to that level now, where it's kind of like on the sidelines, but still good, still fun. We still all enjoy it. And
it appeals to a certain demographic of people, like a culture of people. It is still a rock culture in itself. So I would say, yeah, your normal person, it's not going to come into their life, and it might just be a background thing that they hear in commercials. And that's where actually AI music would be fine for them. You could just get, like, rock is a mood music for them. But I think the actual culture of heavy metal, rock and roll, it appeals to like just some more outgoing people. You know, people like skaters and skiers and snowboarders, for example. That's one example. Surfers.
People that like more active, aggressive pursuits.
I think so, yeah.
I think it's a music of frustration too, and also a music of people that aren't financially stable and adept. I feel like that's
you
part of
heard
it
it here, people. It's for poor people.
Right?
It should be.
No, it should be. It's the music of the people, whether it's punk or metal or whatever. Like South America is a huge market for rock, metal, punk.
Rock in Rio goes off.
That's what I'm saying. It goes off. It's crazy. And everybody's super into it because they all feel the hope and part of that fight together. And I think that's really interesting that most of the songs that I do, like we have more action in South America than we do in America or in Europe or anywhere else, because there's people in the struggle, in the fight, and they're doing something. It's related, I think.
I mean, a lot of art is about the struggle to exist, to get ahead, to make something of yourself, to find meaning. So yeah, I think that's well said.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think also like rock and roll is a little bit more physical. It's a little bit more dirty. It's a little bit more sweaty, and you have to be enjoy that type of environment. And that's why I brought up like some sports, or like maybe like construction, some dirty, more like hands-on work.
More testosterone.
A bit, yeah. Some more grit, outdoorsy type stuff. And then obviously just people that have less money, like their culture is just a bit more old-fashioned, like in the presence of things, and that's going to appeal to them. Whereas, if you live like a very like museum type or very sterile proper life, it probably wouldn't appeal to you.
Yeah, like you're just appealed by other music, which either has a class structure or something to it, where you see a higher value to it. So like whether it's a rave or whether it's the orchestra, do you see what I'm saying? Like that's
totally
that's a higher end thing.
Like what you said, so orchestra, those are wealthy people and they're very conservative and wear like bow ties. Your
potentially more educated.
Typically more educated, on their shows are always sponsored by like the Vry University and then
Range Rover.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's not going to be like Ford Ranger or F-150,
Hilarious.
Yeah. So, and as well as like hip hop is very fashion and luxury. Like if your culture is luxury oriented, it's probably rock and roll is not for you.
Well, hip hop is the one divided one where I feel like it's a bunch of people with a shitload of money and a bunch of people with no money.
Great.
But also correlating it back to rock and roll, like they started from the bottom. Now we're here, right? Mm-hmm. Starting with no money, living in the streets, being more rebellious, angst-ridden, fighting against the man, all that shit. There's a lot of commonality between rock and roll and hip hop from that point of view. Mm-hmm. And then over time, hip hop basically, those people were very hungry to succeed and to ascend to another level. And now if you don't have a Lamborghini and a fucking gold chain, you can't really, exist in that medium.
And the lyrics, that's really important. I mean, that part is that's a part of that culture, like Lamborghinis, flash, fashion, cash. And rock typically is not, except for
Yngwie.
And he's so awesome, yeah. And he just lives it though. He's just the real deal.
Although he's Ferraris, not Lamborghinis. Let's be clear.
Ferraris and necklaces.
I think me and Kluiber could talk about fucking Yngwie Malmsteen for 2 hours.
God, I love that man.
I love that man too.
Yeah.
I went to his house once.
Wow,
no
in Florida.
Uh-huh. So I used to work for Digitech, and we were doing a pedal that was his little preamp pedal, which is the noisiest, fucking shittiest pedal. No one should ever buy the black Yngwie Malmsteen pedal. It's fucking terrible. It's just a blast of pure gain with tons of crunch and distortion, and it's awful. But we were working on him with it. We went down to Yngwie's house. I was with my boss, Paul, and it was hilarious because Yngwie had the most luxurious setup, dude. And he had guitars fucking everywhere. Piles.
Of course.
No, he had guitars stacked on top of guitars.
Yeah, I think he collects those amps and guitars all over the world on tour and buys them in the cities he's at if he finds a good one.
No, he was like, TC, I'm going to show you this. And he goes over and he grabs a guitar out of a pile of guitars, pulls it out, and all the rest of the guitars just fall down. And these are like 60, these are like 60 Stratocasters, dude.
Yes.
And all the frets have fucking nicks in them and shit like that. Because
they're scalloped.
No, he has piles of guitars.
Just use guitars as a pawn shop.
he has Gibsons, like old ass fucking like 50s Gibsons with like chunks taken out of them because he just dropped them drunk and doesn't give a fuck.
Yes.
It's insane. But that's
a
a rock
life.
star.
That's the life I wanted to live, Tom. Okay.
You don't want Yngwie's wife though.
I don't know much
Just crazy.
Oh,
just
dude.
a typical crazy drugged out rock and roll woman.
No, what she is, she's a control freak. So she went into
what? No one tells Yngwie what to do.
No, she actually does, and she's the manager, bro.
Oh.
And so when his career started to, have its trajectory, we'll say, that's when she took over, like 94, 95.
Okay.
She's got the Sharon Osbourne thing going on.
Sharon's a little bit more successful, I'd say.
Well, there's that.
Yeah.
He's Yngwie. Yeah, we could talk about this all day long.
Let's come back to Erik's story.
Okay.
Yeah. So Erik, 91 is when he started the guitar?
88, but 91 was my first band, and so the whole goal was just to play songs that sounded real.
Yeah. And what were the influences at this time?
Metallica
yeah.
and Megadeth and thrash metal, Slayer. But I will say, I love glam metal, and so always loved Rat, and always loved just your glam metal guys are great. Cinderella, Night Songs is the best.
Oh, dude, his fucking voice on that record.
His voice, his riffs, the guitar, everything about it is fantastic. And good music, and it's solid and it's heavy and it's funny. It's like
good songwriting.
Really, you put Slayer next to frickin' Wasp. I mean, they look almost identical. I mean, it was a lot of what separated those bands was just what they were talking about. Like, but even stylistically, they're very similar. They're very similar on their gear, their riffs. It's like almost it's a rivalry, but they made it up. It was like a schism that they made to separate themselves. But when you look back, they have so much in common.
And I fucking love Wasp. I get a lot of shit for it all the time, but
really,
there's people that are like, that's some gay shit. Like, and I'm like, no, I like it. Like,
awesome.
I legitimately think the riffs are heavy.
Yes,
I think that some of those records, like fucking, what's the Idol one? What's that one called?
Crimson Idol.
The Crimson Idol is a fantastic early 90s record.
I just think if you're going to release a song called Fuck Like a Beast, you've got my attention.
It's good, yeah. But that first record especially, I mean, it's just hit after hit, and his voice is also amazing. It has those Tom Kieferisms, or they're very, very similar in that, like, super AC/DC on steroids and somehow keeping this amazing melody. So it's like this mix of that with James Hetfield. So they have a grit. And
the vocal fry is just fucking crazy.
Well, I guess that's what I'm getting at. Yeah, their distortion pedal on it.
That's what I think is weird now. Like when I hear music and I hear a new singer or a new artist and there isn't like the character, but the Brian Johnson, you know what I mean? Like the little scratchiness. Because to me, growing up, I'm like, oh, fucking Bob Seger, Brian Johnson. Like anything that had the fucking to it. I was in, bro. That was like, that's a soul singer. That's
it was moving to you.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it's a tough voice, but it's not death metal, and it's understandable, and it's still beautiful.
You can still have a melody in there.
So it's great. So all that 80s rock and 80s metal is fantastic. But at the time, like when I was doing my first band, it was very thrash metal influenced. And then at the same time, alternative music was really, really popping off, like right in the beginning stages of it, and you couldn't avoid it. And then like our bass player was into like the more alternative realm, which would be punk and Fugazi.
Oh, Fugazi was great.
And then like you're in a band, so these things mix together. So that's where it started, and it was okay. It was not exceptional.
How did you feel about? Because I remember seeing this. Okay, the shift from 80s to 90s music happening. Okay. So I was at my senior graduation party and we're all in the gym. We're signing each other's yearbooks and shit. My band was playing. And it's so funny. I think back now because we played Van Halen When It's Love, followed by Alive by Pearl Jam, followed by Enter Sandman, followed by Smells Like Teen Spirit. Like it was a strange fucking time for the transition, bro.
I mean, I guess at the time I thought they merged pretty well. What was weird is as it progressed and then the establishment determined and this narrative was created that rock is dead and alternative is king, and then they put this idea of no guitar solos. I mean, you listen to Pearl Jam and it's nothing but Jimi Hendrix, Led Zeppelin worship all day long, guitar solos everywhere. Kurt Cobain did guitar solos. So like that was just something that was made up, kind of like, hey, how do we like make music different? Alice in Chains was a fucking glam metal band.
That was the crossover band, bro. For anybody that was into thrash, because they were out on Clash of the Titans.
Saw that.
And that's where they went out. Alice in Chains was a band that like the most heavy thrash guys that were like fucking into like, Testament and shit back in the day were into Alice in Chains. They were like, there's just something cool about it. And I very much see them as like 90s Black Sabbath at this point.
I mean, they also could really fucking play though.
And Jerry played fucking great guitar solos. Them Bones is one of the best guitar solos I've ever heard.
They're great. They're great. Another great point of this whole idea of no guitar solos in alternative music that was not true at all. I will say it was tough for them to open for Slayer. When I saw them, Slayer was the first Clash of the Titans band. But back in the day, the opening bands always got shit on, no matter who they were. So they took
good old-fashioned hazing.
It was. I don't know if that's the case anymore. And in fact, a lot of times I go to see shows for the opening bands much more than who they're opening for. Because you'll get a good opening band, and they need to open for a crowd, so they'll kind of open for someone who's just phoning it in, So I don't give a fuck about the headliner. I'm there for the opener.
So I have a bitch about this. Okay, when you go to see Metallica, so I've seen Lamb of God open for Metallica. I've seen Gojira open for Metallica over at the Rose Bowl. Those motherfuckers don't turn the subs on
Yeah.
and don't turn the power up and don't turn the lights on until Metallica comes out.
Yeah.
So no matter how shitty Lars plays that night, it always seems to be better because
More
he has
powerful.
low end, more powerful.
Yeah.
Always hated that practice. That's an old school practice that sabotaged a lot of shows back in those days. I will say nowadays, I don't think there's as much like insecurity or competition. I don't think there's as much of that sabotage. When I was in Gypsyhawk, the Sword never like turned our PA down to half volume or something like that.
Well, the Sword's fucking cool.
They
though.
were great. But that's what I'm saying is that, and I go to a lot of shows. I don't think that practice is as that used to be the norm. Like the opening band, no matter who you see, you don't even want to see them open because their set's going to suck because they're going to get half sound.
No.
Right? They're get sabotaged. You can't even hear the vocals. Lead guitars solos are buried.
Yeah, no, dude, I want you to talk about these other bands you've been in. We get the White Wizzard, right?
Yeah.
We get Gypsyhawk. Some of these are some of my favorite music that's ever been made, bro, and you're involved
Thanks,
in it.
man.
So,
I was really proud to be a part of that.
Also, Void Vator, like I was fucking in on that. You know,
Yes.
I was first on bass with that shit. But talk about like some of the bands and what was different and why they ended, kind of that kind of situation.
And also, like, when, like, if you could manage to do it chronologically, that would be nice.
Okay, yeah. I'll try to do a quick summary. So, before I came out here, I was in a band called Overloaded, and that did really well in Detroit. And it got to, it maxed out, and it needed to start touring, and the guys didn't want to do that, so it capped out. And we weren't going anywhere, and actually it started to lose momentum rapidly. And I realized I was beating a dead horse, and I started looking around, and I found an ad in. It's not the Recycler because it's like 2008 when I was looking. Craigslist.
Okay.
Craigslist, and it was looking for a guitar player. And it's very much kind of a fate thing or a destiny because what are the chances? And at the time, 2008, traditional metal was not in fashion at all. And I've always loved traditional metal, and that's what White Wizzard is. And White Wizzard is Iron Maiden.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what it is, you know? And then like, and the music was great, and they had a great video. So I came out, and I called him up, and the dude answered, and he's like, yeah, come on by Thursday for an audition. I'm like, but I'm in Detroit. So at the time, things are, it doesn't seem that long ago to me, but things are really primitive. Like, not everyone had a smartphone. I had to hire a guy to come over and film me. I learned their stuff through an MP3 maybe, which I had to...
You found the White Wizzard opportunity through Craigslist when you were still in Detroit?
When I was in Detroit, yeah.
Wow.
I scanned all of, like, the coolest, just the major cities all across the United States to really see what was out there, and... really, that was it. So it's kind of like that was meant to be in my eyes, you know?
Well, I like what you did there, though, to look at various other cities.
Yeah.
Because, like, I grew up in Cleveland. It's not that different than Detroit.
Oh, we're like neighbors. You know?
But, like, when my band sort of hit the end of the road in Cleveland, I started, what's my next move, right? And I was just thinking LA or New York because those are the biggest cities. Those are the hot
that's
spots.
your go-to, but...
I like the way you approached it.
We were just talking about alternatives. Seattle, obviously. Any major city potentially could have an awesome... Because at the time, Detroit, the people I hung out with, we always ripped on L.A. Even though I'd lived in Tustin, you know, it was like just this attitude, you know, fuck L.A., you know.
Also, Metallica became one of the fuck L.A. tribes.
Yeah,
you
I
know?
guess that's like a common narrative, you know, which
It was like every band in fucking 1989 was just war, enter, poison. That's what the narrative was for a long time about LA, right? That it was just a bunch of...
It still is the narrative, actually. But, you know, there's so much more, and really quickly, I mean, I think LA is the best city in America, which means
Shout
in the
out
world.
to LA.
And, yeah, it's the best, and it has everything you could want. But moving on, so like that's what got me out here, and so I did this, like learned 2 of the tunes. I had a buddy film me play it, and then they watched. I uploaded it to YouTube, this primitive version of YouTube that was alive, and then he's like, come on out. And then I came out and did a live audition with just the bass player and the drummer, and got the gig. Like, hey, it's yours. And then I had to like figure out how to get from Detroit to here.
How'd you do that?
Sold everything I owned except my gear. I had a Ford Ranger with a topper on it. And so you can fit in a decent amount of shit, like a full stack, 2 guitars.
Fuck yeah!
And then from there, you're like basically a suitcase. I mean, I got rid of everything, like freaking, the cabinets and the, all my fucking underwear storage device.
We're back to that.
Everything, man. I got everything, just had a blowout sale. Like everything must go, for like a month.
But dude, I love that. I love that it's about, I just have to fucking get there. And I'm going to do what it takes. And I feel like that's not something that people do anymore. People are afraid, like, I might have to turn off Netflix for 15 minutes. Like they're literally in that.
I think it still happens, maybe just not as commonly, and it has a different flavor, a different shape, but it still happens.
I'm sure it happens. That's just what it takes, because like to relocate all of your stuff across country it's not possible.
No,
and coming out here, and like I didn't even have a place, so I stayed on the Chad, the guitar player's living room for like a month and just slept on his lazy boy as I kind of like assessed the situation. And I found a spot, in Hollywood, which I was really happy about being in Hollywood.
Mm-hmm. No, and you're always Hollywood proud. I got to give you credit for that, because a lot of us motherfuckers are all out here in the suburbs.
A lot of people talk trash about it, for sure.
What was your zip code?
90028 is what I'm at.
Yeah. So I lived at Franklin and Whitley.
Oh, yeah.
Right by Playboy Liquor and shit.
Yeah.
And I know
Plowboy.
you lived
It's
at
Plowboy,
right? Yeah. Shout out to Plowboy. You still live over there?
I'm in that neighborhood, and
amazing.
I'm at Hollywood and Wilcox.
Oh,
Yeah,
fuck yeah. So coming back to White Wizzard, though, how long were you with that project?
Not long at all. It was crazy. I came in, and what I loved about it was so fast. Like, so these skeletons of these songs to work on, and me and the bass player and Chad, the other guitar player, we get together, and the bass player would show us some riffs. We'd learn them. And then we would like organically like powwow and improve on them. So like you have a very rough structure of a song, which is essentially 3 riffs. Okay. Mm-hmm. The vocals are not a part of it. The vocalist didn't even move out till a number of months later.
Oh, wow.
But as far as the songwriting process, it was not there. Okay. So we were putting the songs together instrumentally. The vocals came out later and were worked out with a producer named Ralph Patlin in Arizona, who has a whole long history, and you should have him as a guest.
Oh, that'd be great.
It would be, but that was interesting to me because I'd always written songs, and like the music normally does come first, but then the vocals would be happening at the same time. They'd be written as we write the music, and so we were just getting, and then we rehearsed the songs instrumentally. We recorded the album. There was 3 songs recorded already, and we did 6 more. But they're kind of like longer songs, so I feel like they count like more than some songs. Just like some bands just shit out a 2.5-minute song,
Yeah, but
which is great.
You're doing 7-minute epics.
It can be a 7-minute epic. It can totally be like 12 riffs in the song and changes and
Justice
multiple
for All
solos.
type shit.
And very much so. Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner, all that.
Yeah, if we're building off of Maiden, Rhyme of the Ancient Mariners.
Absolutely right.
Because like, honestly, when I listen to that song, still like the Live After Death version of Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner, I'm completely captivated still the entire fucking time. I even memorized it in high school for like a English class.
Did you? As like a play almost?
Yeah. I had to do like a monologue or whatever, so I just.
Well, I think originally it is like a big poem or something.
Yeah,
they took
it's an epic like poem, but I did it for a class and but still like just that video of Iron Maiden back from Live After Death every day. I would watch it when I was a kid.
That's amazing. I wanted that VHS and I didn't have it. So I didn't see that concert until it probably came out on DVD.
Oh, shit.
Because like back in the day, you couldn't watch everything that you wanted to.
No.
Because someone had to have it.
But that also made it more valuable, right?
Well,
scarcity.
Yeah, it does. And so like when I had Cliff 'Em All, the Metallica thing, I lent that out to a bunch of my friends. And then I'd have an issue with a friend who like didn't return it on time, and that turned into a whole nother can of worms. But it's like things were so much more involved, and it did pull you in. So that was a historic, like I saw all the photos and I listened to the actual record, you know, but I never saw the concert until I was like probably in my 20s.
Well, it was on the VHS of it. It said it was a video LP. I remember that being cool. Do you know what I mean? Like a video album or something like that. It said actually on the DVD. It was insane.
All right, coming back.
Oh,
White Wizzard.
White Wizzard. I wasn't in the band long. I didn't get along with the bass player, and so we did the record, and that was really fast, which I really liked that. Mm-hmm. Meaning the process was so, like every ounce of my energy I just moved here was put into like finishing that record. It was put together and rehearsed and like we were so nails tight, and you went in the studio, and this is how I've always recorded it. You just know what you're doing. There's no experimentation. And I ended up just doing like all the rhythm guitars and all the leads for that record because it was just more simple.
Mm-hmm.
And it turned out great, and I was really happy with it, very proud of it. It didn't come out physically for almost a year. So the next 6 months, we really didn't do much. We had to like replace a guy, but we did my first finally real tour. I wanted to always do a real tour. That's what I wanted to do, and that still is like one of my favorite things in the world. You know, it's one of the greatest experiences. I enjoy traveling to cities, you know, and experiencing every different city does have its own attitude and flavor.
And I tell everybody, that's like living richly. When you get to go someplace that you've never been to before, see it for the first time, experience the food, the people, the vibe, the whole thing.
It's like Anthony Bourdain plus you're playing a rock show.
Yeah, it's a really unique experience, and that's a whole nother conversation. But we did one with Corporate Kalani. We did one, and then the band Tear was on it, Swashbuckle, and us. And that was my first real tour, and I loved it.
We should definitely talk. I mean, because I feel the same way you do. I've done a few tours over the course of my time, and it's like nothing else, you know? And even got to play in Europe and stuff. But I mean, just to be able to like get out there, display your product, give the people what you think they want, you know?
And play a real theater, and you get treated, you do get treated differently than...
like a local band thing.
Then a local band, and even if a local band opens for Rat, you know, or whoever, I mean, you're going to get treated as a local band if you're actually on the road and you're touring. There's a different parameter. The monitors actually work for your sound and whatnot, you know, as long as you're not being sabotaged and given half sound. Once again, that did not happen. And so what a great experience was that was. I got to go to London, and we did a short tour with Ed Guy, but there was a lot of drama. I did not get along with the bass player. And so I was out of the band right before they played Donington, and there was a Download Festival.
Oh my God!
Which was just like,
what a kick in the dick, dude. That's terrible.
Yeah. That band, that lineup in particular, could have done so much more. So that's another like really sad woulda, shoulda, coulda. What could have happened with that?
There's so many stories like that, dude. It's just it's frustrating that you think about the potential that people have. And we see this in LA all the time. You'll see somebody coming up and you're like, motherfucker, this is going to blow up, right? And then something happens with somebody doesn't like someone else, or there's some writing issue or creativity conflicts or something like that. And then it just suddenly goes away, and it feels weird and empty.
It's very weird because it's an instant disintegration, and all that work means nothing. And everything was primed and ready to go.
Mm-hmm. And we all have been there and seen it, where it's like, that's the vibe, bro. That's what's gonna go. Like this is the next.
And it is
big band
working,
or whatever.
and it's working that way too. That's why the lineup thing. There's I think it's kind of rare that people appreciate the lineups and for the magic that creates, and it's on so many levels. It can be real, like logistically, like everyone has their own contribution to the vibe, to the creativity. But then you get people like if you start like writing it down, you can play all these games and think that someone's less valuable or someone's holding it back. And it's like, no, the sum of the parts is perfect. Don't fuck with it.
No clearer point than Guns N' Roses.
Sure.
Okay, so we started off at a 10 where everybody was doing the exact right things. And then we got some shitheads like Matt Sorum and Gilby Clarke in there, replacing Izzy, who is like one of the most fantastic writers, you know what I mean, of that style of music. Yeah. That played the most unique guitar shit that I've heard on music like that. Really,
it's fantastic.
Cool.
I mean, it was.
But that's a lineup change, and people don't realize how much it affects the quality. Because when Use Your Illusion came out, it was like, what happened on half the record? You know?
It starts with affecting the vibe, right?
The vibe.
And then you actually, it's like a relationship or a family. You swap one person out, it changes the whole situation.
The whole dynamic, the workflow has changed. You know? As far as like, in a family, it's a different way that it might affect vacations and plans and stuff like that. But with a band, the workflow is important. And like if a band's actually showing up in the same spot and being functional, that's incredible right there.
Oh no, and it's a powerful, palatable fucking thing when everybody's there and they're involved and they're invested.
They all give a shit.
They all give a shit.
They're all putting their heart and soul into the thing. And it's usually very short-lived, though, in my experience, too. You'll have these windows where it's all firing, and you're thinking, like, this has the potential, right?
Yeah.
But then, like you said, interpersonal stuff. I mean, Tom said it, too. Like, it's very easy to disintegrate those things with small changes.
With small changes, and if a situation, or in this case a band, is worth fighting for, I would highly recommend anybody who's getting in this situation, like, fight for it, because the smallest, most insignificant issue can collapse a band, and it can get blown out of proportion, and then once people start yelling at each other, then it's almost like forget about it, like you've already burnt the bridge. So just like I recommend people work harder to hold on to what they have to if they can. Just be a little bit more diplomatic and level-headed.
It's like any relationship. Appreciate each other.
Yeah.
For what you bring to the table. You know what I mean? Like that's
you got to respect each other's differences too, because we're all fucking different and we all have different ideas. And keeping it together is really about that. Letting people have space to kind of be themselves and be different, and not fucking railroad them out because, you know, they like a different style, or they have different genes than you, or whatever the fuck it is, or they do a different drug than you.
That happens.
Sure.
No, it's interesting that, like, bands, like, it's like a marriage, right? When you see somebody throw, like, a marriage away, like, after it was a lot of work for a lot of years and building up, and you see somebody that they get married and it'll last like 2 fucking years or something like that. You're like, what the fuck? The 10 years before that or whatever, you guys are working on it. But at the same time, bands are like that, where it's like, no, this person was a big part of my life. Every day we wrote together. We drank the same fucking beers. We went to the same clubs. We did all that same shit. And now that's nothing. And that's, it's a sad thing to watch a band disintegrate.
I just can't stop thinking about Guns N' Roses, everything that you guys are saying, because it's all applicable, right? They literally slept in the same little storage facility thing together, or where they rehearsed, right?
Like the storage unit.
They banged the same chicks, and so on and so on and so on. And then, like, with Adler going out, it was a major dynamic change, right? And it was never the same.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, from then on, Use Your Illusions 1 and 2 are not comparable to Appetite.
Yeah.
And then, because you're talking about Adler, I mean, Sorum said he got upset at the dude from Dream Theater for calling him out about playing the same hit every song.
No. He plays like the same fill.
The same fill. Yeah, that's what I mean. That was a joke when we were children. We just go, da, 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 da.
We called it Pat Boone, Debbie Boone.
Everyone knew it. It was the most valid, like, obvious criticism.
Yeah.
And you know, and I'm offended. Like, nah, dude.
Facts are facts.
Yeah, like maybe he had 4 days to do the drums.
I'm not a big Sorum fan, to be honest. And
he's got nice hair.
He does. He does it nice. But you know what? He really fucked up with me, like, on a personal level.
Did you meet him at the Dragonfly?
Yes, I did.
Oh my God, I was at that show.
Yeah, and what a fucking dick was that fucking dude.
That was his band with like 12 chicks in it?
The neon stilettos or something fucking gay like that. I don't know what it was. It was terrible. But it was his, like, wife's band that he was promoting. They had crazy monitoring, and they did the same shit that Metallica does to, like, Gojira and Lamb of God, where it's like half the PA.
Were your boys Cast of Kings opening?
Cast of Kings opened, and
this is right when I moved here.
And we had a bunch of band problems with that fucking band, bro. That was incredibly difficult time in my life.
Can we save that for another episode?
Yeah, we'll save that for another episode.
These are all worth exploring.
All right, but I'm going to try and get through your shit. White Wizzard.
God,
what was next? What was next?
Okay, hold on a second. So, like, after that, and then I went back to Craigslist and I joined like 4 bands. I just had to get back into it. You know, I did like a Megadeth tribute. I did like my neighbor's band. I did, well, the next band that worked out was Gypsyhawk.
And Gypsyhawk was fucking awesome.
I love that name. I've always loved that name.
It works, right? You know, I mean, it's just combining 2 words, but it does work, and it fit the band as well. It fit the artwork.
That's when I started hearing about you more than anything, because, like, my friend Artie was friends with you guys. Artie and Don were friends with you.
I never heard him named Artie, but sure, Art.
No, but that's what I'm saying. Art. And him and Don were always like, you gotta go see Gypsyhawk, dude. These guys are so fucking badass. And I showed up, and I had like the fucking arms crossed. I was that dude.
Did you see us like where? Like Loaded at?
I saw you at Loaded. I saw you, I think, at Viper one time. Like
Viper.
We were out a lot back in the day. Like that was.
And what year are we talking here, guys?
2011 is when I joined.
Mm-hmm.
So that gives you, like, I moved here 2009. The White Wizzard record came out in 2010. That's also the same year I left that. And then 2011, so 1 year had passed of like dicking around and trying to make it happen and still just keeping your head above water here in LA, which is tough. But and I found Gypsyhawk. And my buddy from Overloaded found it. He was just like reading the Craigslist, like, this sounds like you. And I had seen them before with their previous guitar player. They had played with Huntress. Yeah.
Oh, R.I.P. Jill. R.I.P. Sorry.
Yes, R.I.P. Jill.
I remember seeing them quite a few times at Loaded also.
Yes. So, I mean, these bands, in case anyone doesn't know or isn't catching on, I mean, are super, like, the scenes are like very small and are the same people.
Yeah, back then it was like Huntress, you guys. There was
Holy Grail.
Holy Grail was out. Future Villains in some capacity. There was a bunch
Future
of dudes
Villains
out there
was happening. The Shrine was happening. So yeah, all these bands would end up on the same bills quite a bit, just because they were just on it. You know, it wasn't even a big deal.
And back in these days, I try to explain this to people all the time. We were all out. Like, you go out on Tuesday.
Yes.
And it would be fucking packed on Tuesday. It didn't have to be any specific day of the week. You could go out, all your friends would be there, and like, I'd run into you, run into Joey Vincent, run into a bunch of people that were just out hanging out to party. You know what I mean? And dudes were out middle of the week at fucking 1 o'clock in the morning, and it was insane.
Yes, it was awesome, and that's how it should be. And I will say it is not like that anymore.
It's not. No, it's completely different.
Yeah, unfortunately, it was still vibrant, and everyone would be complaining about, oh, LA is so washed up and lame now. And you go out on a Monday night, and people would be drinking. They'd have to be forcibly throwing people out of the bar.
Do you remember fucking Steel Panther when it was metal school?
I saw them.
Club? It was insane.
Yes, I saw them at the Key Club. Yeah.
Rest in peace, Key Club.
That was that. All right, I gotta tell you guys this. The first time I went to see fucking Metal School, aka Steel Panther, it was in Pasadena at Moose McGillicuddy's, and they had just started doing.
What a name!
And it was a terrible bar, like right on the corner on fucking Colorado, and there was like 7 people there. And one of my friends had come out here to hang out with me, and he was like, "Dude, take me out to some shows." And I'm like, "Well, I guess there's this band called fucking Metal School playing over at Moose McGillicuddy's. Let's go check them out." So we went over to Pasadena, and we saw that, and then 2 years later, they had graduated, and Ralph and all those guys had gotten together, and it was at Key Club. It was an installation. Do you know what I mean? It was just a fucking
residency.
Residency that happened every Monday.
Was it every Monday or was it every other?
It was every Monday for a long time.
So many gigs. Wow.
Yeah, and it was like Kelly Clarkson was there. Fucking Tom Brady was there. Sully from Godsmack sang at a bunch of shows. I was there. But the first time I went with my friend Maddox. We had just bought in some drugs, and we went over, and he's like, "Have you not seen these guys yet?" I was like, "Well, I saw them years ago. You know, Moose McGillicuddy's. It was kind of mid and fucking little bar." And he's like, "No, dude, this is fucking blowing up." So he took me into the Key Club, and we go upstairs because Maddox knew a bunch of people. And we go up there, and dude, this was like Sodom and fucking Gomorrah up there. There was like drugs out in plain view on fucking every table. There was on stage, they played Stripper Girl or some shit. Some chick that was like probably 20 got up, and they had cameras on her as she's grinding on a pole, full nudity. It was insane. Full nudity, bro.
What?
It was crazy.
I don't know that I ever saw them take their tops off, or their bottoms off, but like I don't think they'd say no if they did. Because those girls, when I saw them at the House of Blues, which was a huge stage, rest in peace, House of Blues.
Yeah, the House of Blues, they pulled some bullshit with that, bro. Because here's what happened. They're like, "We're closing House of Blues, but we're going to open the new location." Yeah. Remember that?
Yes, I do.
They're like, "Nobody fret, because in like a year, we're coming back at Universal City Walk." And everybody was like, "Fucking sick. Can't wait till we have House of Blues back." I think they just did that so everybody would shut the fuck up.
Maybe.
And leave them alone. Yeah, and nothing happened. Once it went out, it went out.
Yeah, and what a loss. That place was great. And I don't know if people realize that these places that are kind of mainstream and corporate, they host like Cannibal Corpse shows, you know?
Oh,
they
do
underground.
I saw like Porcupine Tree there. I mean, crazy shit.
Yeah, anything from, they do all kinds of music, and it's not just like relegated to just the most lame mainstream stuff.
Yeah. I mean, my first serious show that I ever played after moving here was the House of Blues, and I had brought some of my bandmates from Ohio, and I don't want to go into the whole story here, but playing that stage, having been in LA for just a couple months, I felt like, dude, we fucking made it. We're going all the way up from here, you know?
Yeah, that's a great feeling that at least you're on the right track,
yeah.
Right? And it was special to play that stage.
It's a great
it does
venue.
Sound great.
Yeah.
And like they have it all down, like the guys working the stage help you get your gear on and off.
Well, because it's corporate, it's better. Just because
it's
they
organized.
Have it worked out and they know what artists need.
Those guys are getting paid for their job. They're not complaining about it. They want it.
They actually have paid employees. That's pretty solid.
Yeah.
It's not just a random where we give them a pack of cigarettes and a beer to run the mix this night.
Right. I only got to play there once, but Gypsyhawk took a right in the middle of the Sword tour. We came back and drove from like New Orleans or something like that. So, anyway, we played the Metal Blade 30th anniversary.
Oh, sick.
With Armored Saint and Sacred Reich. The dudes in Metallica were there. Luke Perry was there backstage because his kid's into metal and he was doing his own independent film.
That's rad.
And he's like, hey, man, you want to talk? And I was like, yeah, I went outside to have a smoke. I smoked at the time, and you could walk right out there to the balcony, or it's not a balcony, it's to the outdoors, but on the street on Sunset, have a smoke and come back, and he was gone already. And that was like such a loss. Like,
hold on, I want to rewind you just one second. So you're in Gypsyhawk, and where was this gig that you were just talking about?
At the House of Blues. It was for the Metal Blade like 30th anniversary.
And Metallica showed up.
They were there, upstairs, and like the dude from Amon Amarth, like a lot of celebrity rock stars were there.
I'm just such a Metallica nut, like, and I've met a few of the dudes, like, just in passing real quick, right? But to perform, and if they're there, I mean, that's a trip, man.
I'll tell you this, I don't think they were there when we performed.
Oh.
Yeah. And that's to be expected, but I'm with you. I'll be
it's
like,
a cool concept.
I want James to see this song. I for sure.
Like, I'm palm muting the whole thing just because he's here.
This riff's for you, James.
And that happened twice because when we played San Francisco on the tour, on the second half, I believe, they came out, and then they weren't there for our set either. But when we went backstage,
no matter how far,
Lars was there. Lars was just hanging out in the room, which wasn't much bigger than this living room right here, and it was like the dudes from the Sword, American Sharks, us, and like just people. Like who's ever working on the tour.
I got to give Lars credit. He did try to keep up with new music trends for a long fucking time. I mean, even as like,
when he bleached his hair, made like a new metal hairstyle.
He made some bad choices, but at least he was trying to remain relevant. He was trying to do something and promote. Like even when shit came out, like the Vines and stuff like that, he was like kind of into that, kind of like promoting it, talking about. And he tried to get some of that vibe on fucking Saint Anger, and that went terribly. But
yeah, he was there. Like it seems like he keeps a little bit of street level or awareness, and he's like connected to the earth. And
he definitely cares about that kind of stuff.
Well, I'll tell you this: like he looked at me because at the time I looked very Hetfield, and like he's like kind of like taken aback, and everyone's passing joints around, and because it's a stoner metal band tour and shit. There was a chick to my left. I was like, "Hey, you want to hit this?" And she's like, "No, thanks." And that was his either wife or fiance, and she was so young, she just blended in with like any of the people just hanging out, and it was just like another day. But he was like super cool and was like, hey, no, I remember you, like you're one of Brian's bands because they were there a couple weeks before for the Metal Blade party. So that's like this little window where like the earth opened up and like the stars slightly aligned. That was just wild. That was surreal,
I was going to say earlier, I missed those shows where there was like every year in December or something, they do like a label like celebration, right? You go to the Key Club and like Metal Blade or somebody would have their big show for the year, and you get to see the new artists that they're bringing out and some of the classics that they're dealing with. Roadrunner would do this. Like there was always shows all over town that you get into and it'd be on a Tuesday night, but everybody would be out and it'd be crazy who was in attendance, and you'd have the best night and you'd discover new bands. And I don't even think labels fucking do that anymore.
There's some stuff like that, but it's like smaller scale. But also the number of labels is less, right?
That's true.
It's been consolidated into a handful of companies. I mean, there's a lot of small ones too, but like you got to have money to throw those fucking events, right?
They were rad though.
So
it was a good time.
Yeah, it was a cool party. I went to a Metal Blade one at the Rock Scene. It was at On the Rocks upstairs, and like a lot of their bands will be there. Some very, very cool. Like I wish I kind of took it a little bit more. I was just hammered, And so
I have a similar issue in my life.
It's like I was there, but not really. I was so fucked up, and I was so casual about it. And looking back on it, it was such a
You could have maybe taken more advantage or something.
That'll probably never happen again because the world has changed so much. I took a lot of things for granted. I think you just said that. Yeah.
Yeah. No. I think that we all thought for a long time.
This is how it is.
This is just what LA is. And this is how it's gonna fucking be. And then we had a number of things happen here.
I mean, this is kind of true in life in general, not just music, right?
Sure.
And there's a name for this. I can't think of it right now. But even like when people are investing in the stock market and it's going well, you tend to trick yourself unnecessarily and unintentionally into thinking it'll always be doing this. And then 2 weeks later, the whole fucking thing crashes.
Yeah.
But like when the times are good and you feel good, you're like, this is just the way it is. And it tends to be short-lived.
Yeah, no. And that time, I would say that time probably kind of ended around 2015. Do you know what I mean? There was a number of big shows I remember attending that were metal, around 2015, 2014 or so, like a Troubadour and things like that. But as Loaded went out of business.
That was I don't know if that was a bad sign or what, but that was kind of the beginning. I would agree that that's where it started.
Rest in peace, Loaded. I had a lot of fun times there.
That place was awesome, and every day I was surprised that the place. How could it not make money?
Yeah, well, that's what we were talking about earlier. Is that these little clubs? You don't realize it, but between the liquor license, what they have to pay everybody to work there,
the fucking rent,
and the insurance they have to pay. They were telling me, dude, Cat Club in 2008 was like 50, 60K to keep open a fucking month.
Yeah, those are insane numbers. I also think they just get sick of it. They want to move on. I think it's a lot of cash business, and guys just want to get their money and check out. There's people that might get into it that is not out of love, but that place was happening for sure. No. Whether that was a mistake or not, it was happening.
Actually, Loaded used to be called Tiny's Bar.
Yeah,
do you remember that?
Yeah.
And it was only the side where they had the amps and shit like that. And then they got the building next door.
I forgot about that. Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up.
And they opened it as a dual thing where you could go in.
But when Loaded first started, it was just still the same as Tiny's. They changed the name. Jen was there, who owns the place now as the Star Wars Bar, but she redesigned it with all the rock and roll motif, the Marshall amps, and Loaded was awesome. And then they opened up a small, very skinny room, very long,
just a
and
little
skinny,
slice,
right? But the great shows there. Very cool.
We saw tons
of
great
skull
shows
there.
But see, that's the thing. When they open up that second half, I thought business must be good. Things are on the up and up, and it was not that long after that they ended up shutting down. I don't know if it was too bold of a bet or what.
I just think that bars and clubs in Hollywood, there's an expiration date. It's kind of like a time and place. It's like the perfect record at the perfect time.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It comes out, it hits the marks, and then they release something.
It's also a
2-3 years
very
later.
high risk, low margin business regardless, right?
Any restaurant, any bar, anything like that. It's fucking just ridiculous.
Okay, for the 15th time, Gypsyhawk coming back to this. So how long were you doing that?
Let me just... With that, when you were just talking about the scene kind of evaporating, I do think it was around that time, and there hasn't been a new crop of people to replace what was happening then, which is strange because there was always a new influx of new people.
You're right. Before that, there was always somebody new that would get on the scene, take it over, do a new show, have some different take on the style of rock or whatever, and it would start to trend, and you'd see people out, and you'd see it happening. And since then, it's been pretty much, buckets.
It's very desolate. People seem to be stuck in their own neighborhoods. Where you're at, we're not far from Hollywood, but I wouldn't come out here. This is a different world as far as I'm concerned. And so if you're in Silver Lake, you're in a different world. If you're downtown, if you're on the west side.
It's very segregated.
Very, very much. So,
that's why I love Loaded too, because I could walk over there and walk home and never have to deal with cabs or driving or any of that.
Super cool. It was so centralized. So, yes, and there did seem to be a lot of people left, and once again, a lot of people didn't come to replace them. Before, also, was so hard. LA is such a hard town. A lot of people. Someone said, if you can make it a year here, then you can call yourself a real LA person, or you'll be considered it wasn't a legal thing. It was just how you're perceived, because so many people wouldn't even last a year.
No, I tell people all the time, LA is built upon some chick that just got out of college. Her dad gave her $15,000 to move to LA and chase the dream.
Yeah, it's not going to last long.
After that, 2 months is over.
Yeah.
Well, you know what,
figure
guys?
Shit out,
I mean, we could just give ourselves just a little pat on the back because we've all been here for a long ass time.
Yeah, I've been here 25 fucking years, dude. insane.
Yeah.
Like, and when I moved out here, I had no idea what LA was. I had no fucking I hadn't even been here. I went to a show at the Rose Bowl and had been to Disneyland and hadn't been. I didn't know there was no winter. I didn't know any of that shit about it. And I just came out here. I literally, how I made the decision to come to LA, I was in a band that broke up. The singer quit. She was getting married and moving to Oregon or some shit. I was sitting in Salt Lake City with just disheveled, hungover, on a toilet. I grabbed a CD off the shelf where my radio was behind the toilet. I opened it up and it said recorded in Burbank, North Hollywood, Glendale, Larrabee Studios. I was like, well,
You
looks
said,
like
"Fuck
I'm
it,
moving
to
fucking
Montrose.
there." No, I did. I did. I literally just decided to go to LA at that point, and in the next 6 months.
It was a sign, and
that was it.
Appealed to what you're doing. Were you into being like an engineer at then too?
No, I was just a guitar player, but I was like, what I really just wanted to do was write and make music and collaborate with people, which is what I still do today. But that was the thing. I was like, clearly there's good people. Because it was a perfect circle. I opened up Murdenoms, and in there I just looked at where it was all recorded. And that's what decided the trajectory for the next 25 years of my life.
Yeah, I think what I love about this place is there's still a high priority for art, and out here
Creative people.
Music, yeah, creatives who prioritize it and are willing to do what it takes to try and make something tangible and real. Which a lot of times it's like it looks good on paper, but once you get involved in it, it's just too much of a hassle.
Yeah,
it's just not. It doesn't make sense on paper. Actually,
It attracts clearly a lot of dreamers, but then there's that next step. Who can survive, right? So you got to be a dreamer kind of to come here, and you got to be a fucking survivor to stay here.
Yeah, and that should weed some of it out. That's why I think bands actually just take it more serious, and they work faster because they know they don't have an infinite timeline.
That is true too. Like, so many people don't talk about this. Like, if you've been doing a band like 5-7 years and you got 2-3 records out and you've been playing shows and nothing's really happening, we've kind of seen what the market plays for that. Do you see what I'm saying? What the interest level is in that. And though it's great, yeah, you can be in your same band for, 25 fucking years or whatever. There's a margin of tolerance that everybody has for that it can only go on for so long in that way. And then it's
got a shelf life.
No, well, no, and maybe try something else,
It can. I do feel like sometimes you just got to try something different with that product. You don't need to just throw it away. But you're right. You can't just do the same thing over and over. And things have to happen, move quicker. You need to get some momentum. So people do that out here.
What do you think the timeline is these days, though, for it?
These days for being in a band?
Well, like if you and me got a band together or something like that, and we're like, we're going to make this happen in this amount of time, or we know it's kind of fucking dead in the water. What do you think that amount of time is?
Well, see, oh God. So like I guess the goals would be to like, I would think like get a decent tour and like be in some sort of circuit that's happening, that we're not just like knocking at doors and being told no, playing like 3 shows a month and stuff like that. I mean, I think you should be on the I think some solid expectations should be happening within a year. Within a year. So that gives, and maybe that's too long, but I think that's realistic and organic, because also I hate it when it's like this corporate board meeting of you put the elements together, they're not really putting what's in it to create an artistic something of substance.
That's true.
It's got to have some substance. Things can move fast, and especially with technology. Recording, a lot of it can be done at home. We can come over to Tom's place and really make it sound good. There's not a lot of excuses, but at the same time, like, time is such a premium. I feel like people have less time now than they ever did, and it's not just our age. I think it's our society.
And it's the attention market of like, there's so much stuff competing for your attention all the time. You feel busy whether you're doing something or not anymore, right? I mean, it's crazy.
Absolutely, yeah. Time management, and then really quickly about bands and whatnot. Also, just the reality of people, like, you got to have realistic expectations.
Well, and also I think I watched some guy that had a post the other day about intention when you go to do a music thing now. That's the most important thing. Like, what is my intention with this? Who is the person that's showing up for this? Who is this directed at? Who's the audience? Like really having a clear idea about why the fuck are we doing this and who are we doing it for? That was really interesting to me because like I've never really thought about art that way, but he was like, yeah, that can lend us to make different mixing decisions. That can lend us to make different like shows that we play with other artists or whatever, like just different decision making.
Definitely a scene, like trying to figure out what scene you want to be a part of, or at least the direction you're going to be tied in. Because that scene's so contrived, but it's a fine line between contrived and art. Like it was like when I joined Gypsyhawk, we will get back into that, I swear to God. And that was like the perfect band for me because it was like Thin Lizzy had a lot of soul and stuff, a lot of songwriting. It still had some aggression and some metal. Eric Harris was in Skeleton Witch, so he's coming from a very thrash band that has a ton of success. So he knew about that scene and the underground and the grit, and they wanted to tour. That was the big thing. They couldn't find anybody. They couldn't find anybody to tour because it doesn't pay money. If anything, it costs money, and then all of the things that you leave at home. Like good luck for it's a lot of logistics to work out.
Well, and people wonder why newer artists. There's a lot of nepo babies involved, and that's because they have the ability to take 2 months off.
They have the ability, and they have a budget.
Money. Yeah, it comes down to money.
It comes down to how much
in
money.
that situation.
And it's sad that that's what it is now because it didn't used to be that way. Music used to.
Things got more expensive too, just like hotels. Like hotels are so expensive. A lot of times bands are sleeping in their van, which is what it is. It's pretty tough, and a lot of people, that just turns people off. Like, dude, this isn't worth it. You know, like I'm looking at it. We're playing in front of 14 to 25 people a lot of these nights. Like I'm coming in through. No one even knows we went on tour. So there's a lot.
You got to really fucking want it, and you got to be willing to sacrifice.
And I'd like to say this though. I think the shows where there's like 7 to fucking 20 people there, I think those are some of the most important shows. That if you can show up and you can fucking deliver like it's a stadium at that point, and then you go out there and shake every motherfucker's hand and really thank them for coming out. I feel like those are important, and it builds, network.
They're important to a point, but they'll also just kill your they'll
Mojo.
kill the band. Now, like your attitude, you'll get very jaded, very upset. Like you can only handle that for so long until
not
you think
good
you're
for
going down the
morale,
wrong
that's for
path.
sure.
Because I've done that forever, and it does seem to be a point of like, what are we doing wrong, or maybe we shouldn't be doing these shows, or how do we change it up? I mean, should we buy on a tour that we actually have an audience to play for? I mean, there's and that's like a dirty thing to even think of, but it's also a reality.
The buy on thing. I remember we got approached with a couple of bands that I worked for before about, hey, do you want to open for Black Label Society? Hey, do you want to open for In This Moment or whatever? Well, basically how this system works now is the lesser bands putting the money into the tour is what's keeping the other band on tour at this point.
It was part of their income stream.
That's their income stream, is that my opener, that's direct support, paid $80,000 to be on this tour for 6 weeks, and we're going to promote them on the posters and put them on our website and everything else.
Those
like
are some big numbers, but yeah, they can
well,
get
that
up
was like
to
BLS and stuff like that. It was that kind of situation.
Yeah, it can be, but then I will say, like Gypsyhawk, the tours that we got got paid what, $250, maybe. I think $250 a night. The White Wizzard tour was $150 a night. So these are like
per person or for the band?
For the band. So there's barely money. I mean, it's a joke, but it's like we weren't paying to be on the tour. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like I guess at the time, actually, I didn't even realize about the buy-ons and how common that was. But those bands did get they didn't have to buy on, which is cool, because imagine having to spend $10K.
Yeah.
And then all of the costs, I mean, it's like you're hoping to really make an impact, and that's why you should take full advantage of the opportunity. It might not ever happen again. Make the most of it. Get some freaking content, like make some fans,